Life is a series of unscripted experiences that forge us into unique individuals. These are the experiences and stories of those who possess the will, beliefs, and fortitude required to overcome obstacles, pursue their passions, and achieve success. Welcome to the HawkCast with your host, AJ Hawk.
James Lawrence. 50-50-50 is what they call it. I'm sure you're probably almost sick of talking about it right now, but for people that don't know, it's 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days consecutively that you completed this past summer. And what I want to add to that is 5 kids in tow the whole time as well. Am I right?
Yeah, 5 kids, 4 beautiful daughters, and a manly son.
Yeah, so that part, when I saw that, so I knew about your story and I knew about you. I mean, it's just a joke. To even run, swim, bike one Ironman is ridiculous to me. But to do 50 in a row, I mean, we'll get into that. But I watched some of these the videos that you did through Jaybird. I know that you're sponsored through your headphones and everything.
Yeah.
They did some cool videos kind of documenting your whole path. And when you did 30 Ironmans in a year before that, setting the record before the world record before you just blasted it out of the park with the 50. But I saw you 5 kids and your wife traveling in an RV, following you throughout this whole journey. Like that right there, honestly, is unbelievable. I have 3 kids myself, so I can imagine like how you got some good kids and a great wife, obviously.
Yeah, they're second to none. I don't know if I won the kid lottery. I won the wife lottery for sure. There's not many wives out there that will let someone do this. Anytime somebody hears my story, and especially on the female side of things, they're always like, dude, that's amazing, but I want to meet your wife.
I think it's cool that she's been involved in the whole process, and seems like she keeps the whole train rolling. And I've listened to you guys on the Rich Roll podcast after you actually completed it. I think you're like 4 or 5 days out when you finished, and you went back on the Rich Roll podcast, which is he's a very inspiring, awesome dude as well. And I watched his video when he surprised you for your final marathon, I guess, too. Was that a good sight to see?
Yeah, it was totally cool. He was a lot of my motivation out there. You know, we did that podcast beforehand, and he kind of put it out there to his following, and we did the whole interview. And then when I listened to the podcast, he does that little wrap up at the end. And you know, he went on record going, I don't know. and that's being polite. And so, you know, as I progressed through the 50, I was getting word that he was paying attention, and I called him on like 35, and I was like, dude, you said you'd come out on one of them. You've only got 15 left. And so when he showed up on 50, I was honored, and it was a lot of fun to run that day with him.
Yeah, he documented it, his whole journey. He was driving out and surprised you basically when you were finishing. Yeah. What's the order it goes in? Swim, bike, run?
Yeah, so swim 2.4 miles, bike 112, and then run your standard marathon, which is 26.2. So it's a total of 140.6 miles.
All right. Let's just say all things considered, you feel 100% healthy, which I'm sure you never are 100%. What is the biggest test for you? Like, what's the most difficult part of those 3?
Individually, either individually or as a whole, it's got to be running. Running's just the hardest on your body. And then within the Ironman format, you've already put in 114 point whatever miles before you start the marathon. And so you've done, you know, 6 or 7 hours worth of decent activity. And then it's like, okay, now hit the pavement and go run that marathon.
Yeah, well, at the end of that Rich's video, when he surprises you, and then he's like running, holding his camera, like taking selfie video as you guys are running, and it's not you guys are running a 5K, you're running a marathon on your 50th. And then what I thought was cool as well, you said that was your fastest marathon, right? Your 50th?
Yeah, the 50th one was the fastest running time that we did. It was the fastest Ironman. I did 11:32 clock time Ironman, which is outstanding for, you know, that timing of the campaign. And, you know, in a year where they said, you know, not only was it going to be impossible, but I got stronger throughout it, and then posted some pretty decent times as we made the run to the finish.
Now, was all of these, like, I know the logistics are just unbelievable to figure out how you did it. 50 different states. I mean, that alone right there, I've listened to you guys talk about the first three, and I know you've mentioned before, like the first three were really hard on your body. Like, when did you like get your legs back? I know, like, when you start something which wasn't new for you, but if you're starting with such a huge task, it's got to be pretty overwhelming, especially if you feel your legs feel pretty heavy after those first three. Like, how did were you ever like, I don't know, overwhelmed or anything, especially when you start out early on thinking like, oh man, I got 47 more of these things?
Oh yeah, it was complete overwhelm the entire time. I mean, you just, when you're in that moment and you're in the bubble, it's just so big, and I literally had to be so intensely present because, like you said, we were so exhausted on day three. Had we had the perception of the perspective of, look, I've only got 47 more to go, that would have completely that would have crippled us. And to be honest, we didn't get our like a really good rhythm between the crew and myself and feeling comfortable until about 30 in. About a month into the campaign, we were like, oh, okay, we're starting to click, and the mind is aligning itself with the body, and there's a huge disconnect between the mind and the body, and they take some time before they're fully in sync. Because when I started, I was like, mentally, I'm like, yeah, I've got this. I can do this mentally. And then my body was like, what the hell are you doing? And it just took a little bit of time for my body to go, oh, you really are going to do an Ironman every single day. And so I better start healing faster and making those adjustments. And it probably took till about race 30. And then once I made a decision to say, okay, I've got this, we can do this, then my last 20 were my strongest of the entire campaign.
Dang. And I know you always say we, like, who was the team behind you that kind of carried you through this whole deal?
Yeah, absolutely nothing of this magnitude, and even smaller tasks are done on your own. I mean, you've been in professional sports, and you know that nothing is accomplished by yourself. I mean, it's just everybody has to be on their A game. And so for our team, I mean, I had two wingmen, Casey and Aaron. They were unbelievable. They were with me all day, making sure all my needs were met. They would drive through the night. I mean, I don't know when these dudes slept. I swear for the entire 50 days, they caught like 45-minute cat naps. I don't think they ever strung together more than 2 hours at a time for 50 consecutive days. We look back on it and we're like, I don't know how we made it from state to state. I think they did sleep through a lot of those drives. And then obviously there was my wife, my 5 kids. I had my chiropractor would come out on the weekends. My massage girl would come out. We had a film documentary crew with us. So like in a 4 or 5 person motorhome, we had 12 or so people in there at any given time. I mean, we had people sleeping on the floor, and I mean, it was just, we were driving, and the bed above the steering wheel, we would lower it right down so that the driver could see out, and it was just enough room for an adult to like roll in there and sleep on the top where he's got the roof right here in front of him. He can't move, so there was just so many things behind the scenes to make this thing work. And I mean, it took me 2 years to just put the logistics behind this together. Because, we did it to raise money for childhood obesity. And in 2012, when I broke the world record in the official events, everybody's so consumed with their event. And so, they've prepared really hard to do it, and arguably so that's their day. And so they're not really looking to look at what I was doing or raising money for charity. And so when we created our own events and had the public come out and join us, that's when we started to see the fundraising dollars come in, because the event was about us. And so not only did I have to get ready physically for all of these, I had to plan and lay out every course and coordinate 50 different people in 50 different states and get everybody to come out and join me.
And didn't your one of your daughters join you for a 5K every day?
Yeah, so my oldest daughter, Lucy, she did the first 3 5Ks, and like you said, I was so exhausted by that 4th day, and I was probably, she looks at me as her hero, and so when I come strolling in after finishing the 2.4 swim, the 112 bike, and the first 23 of the run on day 4, and she's standing there ready to do the 5K with me, I mean, she just looked up and she was like, I've got to help this dad. I've got to help my hero. And so she announced it right there. She was just like, Dad, we can do this. I'm going to do every 5K with you. And you got to show up at 7 o'clock every night because I'm going to be here waiting for you. And that meant so much to me as a dad, that my 12-year-old daughter was just like, no, Dad, we've got this. We're a team. And I'm going to be here waiting for you every day because we're going to run that 5K. And man, holy hell, she did it. She ran all 55Ks and step for step right beside me, and she held my water, and she was my little guardian angel out there.
Man, I mean, it's one thing to say that. I can easily, anybody, let alone a 12-year-old, I could see him thinking, yeah, I'm going to help my dad out. I'll be there. But then after about 4 or 5 days, you're thinking, well, I got blisters. I'm a little tired. My dad will be all right. He can run the last 40 by himself.
Yeah, no doubt.
So for her to stick with that, man, she's got that warrior mentality, obviously, that you have. So that's got to be really cool. I'm sure. Does she look at anything that you're gonna, whatever you plan in the future? Does she want to be a part of it?
Yeah, she does. It's funny because she'll get the question. She's done some interviews and stuff, and they're always like, "What's your next goal, Lucy? You just did the 5Ks," and she's like, "I don't know, whatever my dad's doing." And so she's in it for the long haul. So anything that I'm announcing next, she's like, "Dude, what's my role? How do I get to help you? How can I be involved?" And so it's a lot of fun because people look from the outside in. They're like, "Okay, Ironman racing, triathlon, selfish sport. You must be doing these things and abandoning your family." And it's like you discovered, and why you were more impressed than maybe the physical feat is that I do involve my family in the entire aspect, and we make decisions as a unit. And I mean, the way that we laid this whole thing out, we threw a big map up on the wall and we started drawing Sharpie lines, and I asked the kids what state they're excited for and what they were gonna do in that state, and all of these different things. And so we planned this whole thing as a family. I mean, I was criticized for wanting to do it in June and July, which is arguably the hottest months of the year. I mean, you get into the dirty South and into the Alabama, Florida stretch, Mississippi. I mean, those are hot, humid months. But I was like, there's no way I'm doing this without my family with me.
Now, who would criticize you for that, or why they want you to do it when it's not as hot?
Well, the first criticism was I was going to do it without my family, and the second criticism was it was a stupid decision to do it while it was hot. And so I said, no, I'm taking my family with me, and my only option is when they're out of school, and so it's hot, and I'm willing to take that risk so that they can be with.
Yeah, I don't know why people would care. I mean, I don't know why people would criticize anything of a guy trying to do what you did, but that reminds me when I remember you said in an interview one time you shifted from proving other people wrong to proving yourself right. And when did that switch flip over for you?
Almost immediately, and this shouldn't surprise you coming from the world that you do, that there's, haters are out there, and it stems a lot from jealousy. They're not where you are, and they want to be there, and they have these envisions and these dreams, and somehow it's your fault that they're not in the NFL, right? You took their spot for some reason, and so they come at you, and they just try to poke holes and criticize what you're doing. And so almost immediately when I got all of this backlash after announcing it, I was just like, forget you guys. I don't need to feed your energy. I'm gonna prove me right, and this is about me and my family and my campaign. And in doing so, I'm gonna prove you wrong anyway. Yeah. But I'm gonna focus on me and my journey and grow as a person, and everything else is gonna be a byproduct. So I'm gonna win either way.
That's an awesome message. I could see, like, it does seem like that, because I know people like to talk about like revenge or different things. I'm like, if they talk about, say it's like a team game and you got beat by a team, they'll say, "Oh, do you want revenge against these guys?" I'm like, no, like it's not really about that. Like I feel like if you waste your time worrying about the other team, the other person, what others are doing, like you're wasting a lot of energy that you could be using for something else, like in a positive way. So I feel like that's a prime example of you trying to prove yourself right. At the same time, I'm sure it feels pretty good, though, for all these people that doubted you at the same time. Like, oh, yeah, sorry, man, here you go. July 25th, in case you're wondering, I just finished my 50th. You want to come check it out?
One of my favorite pictures was taken on the 49th day, and it was a little subliminal message to all the haters out there. I was going like this, saying, shh. And the message was, I got one to go. And I probably should have used another finger, but I thought it was subtle enough that I got one to go. I don't need to say anything else.
Maybe next one. Maybe after the 100. That's when then use the other finger, man. That's one of the crazy stories that you told, man, or when you wrecked your bike. What state were you in?
Yeah, we were in Tennessee on race 18, and man, I was so exhausted, I could fall asleep. And I'm not talking like doze off. I'm talking asleep snoring on the count of three, 1, 2, 3 snoring. And I mean, the crew had to watch me eat food because my hierarchy of needs was I'm going to sleep. And so I would wake up just not having completed my food and fallen asleep. And so when you're on the bike and my heart rate was so low because of the condition that I was in, I mean, I lose focus for 3 seconds and it's nap time. And you take nap time on a bike and you're in the dirt. And so, yeah, we crashed at mile 30 on the bike. And I got pretty good road rash, bruised up my hip. And medical staff was right there. We bandaged me up. I got back on my bike, biked 80 more miles that day, and then ran the marathon that night.
How did you feel the next day?
Well, it sucks. I didn't get any sleep that night because the travel that we had going to the next state was a little bit extensive, so the motorhome had to take off before us. And so after I crashed, got back on my bike, ran the marathon, I got stuffed in the back of a Subaru. And so I was dealing with I had lost 3 or 4 toenails over the last couple of days, and so my foot was super sensitive. So my foot couldn't touch anything. I just crashed. My hip was swollen, so I couldn't roll on either side. So I was like jammed in the back of a Subaru, no sleep, having to wake up the next day and do it all over again.
God, I can't imagine. Once the adrenaline comes down from that wreck and finishing that one, I can't imagine how you felt waking up the next day. I mean, probably worse than anybody's ever felt, but obviously that was just – so you woke up for number 19 the next day?
Woke up for 19, and I was as stiff as can be, and so the best thing I could do was just get in the water and start swimming, and then just literally one pedal stroke after the next and then one footstep in front of the next, just knowing, okay, let's just have forward progression. Let's just keep going. This too shall pass. And you know, I just kept going, and I was working my way towards becoming mentally stronger and being able to manage those things that were going wrong, knowing that it was only for a short time period. And once we got through that injury and through that race, and though, you know, I started to manage that pain. Once I got through that and then all the way to 30, then I was like, okay, we've got this now. Let's put the hammer down. Let's really produce an alter ego here, and let's go to work.
You've mentioned being in like cruise control, I know. Is that once you hit 30 or so, is it almost like when you're driving, like say I'm driving on the highway and I drove back and forth from Columbus to Cincinnati a bunch this year, and it's about 2-hour drive. And sometimes, you know, you get done, you'll be driving, and I'll realize like 15, 20 minutes went past, and I realized like I was looking at the road, but I really wasn't. Like I wasn't there. I wasn't present, and you realize like, what? I don't even know if did I get off on an exit? Did I turn? What happened? Like, did you get that while you're maybe running or biking?
Absolutely. I became unconsciously competent in what I was doing, meaning I was executing because it was just second nature to me, and it became what my task was that day. And it became very routine, which sounds completely silly, but it became very routine for me to do an Ironman every single day. And it did get to a point where an Ironman became cruise control for me. And because of the fatigue and all of the adversary that we went through out there, initially when I first came off the 50, and even now, I have to watch video, look at pictures, or be told certain events, and then I'll remember them. We're writing the book with our writer Matt Fitzgerald. He's unbelievable, and he interviewed me initially out of the 50, and then now he's interviewing people in every single state, and he'll come back to me with a chapter, and I was like, holy crap, yeah, that did happen. But there's no way it was going to come out of me. It had to come from somebody else. And then I'm like, oh, damn, yeah, you're right. that happened. And so it's been really cool for me to be writing the book and him interviewing all of these people, because they remember I was with them for one day, but it was 50 days for me. And so their recollection of that one day is so much sharper than my day with them, because my day, it was one huge day with naps for me. But it was one really cohesive day for that person.
Man, what was the sleep deprivation like? Were you ready for that?
No, man. I thought I was ready for that, but there's just no way to get yourself ready for that type of fatigue. In my mind going into it, I'm like, dude, 12, 14 hours a day, no big deal. I'll get 6 or 7 hours of sleep a night, no big deal. Dude, it was 3 to 4 hours of sleep at night, and it was just like on the floor of a van and interrupted and just dealing with incredible aches and pains and all of the, just everything. And so, yeah, literally we averaged 4 hours of sleep and then just all the chaos in between. We could have never planned for it.
How did you guys bring enough food for you? I know you said you were just eating as much as you basically could. Like, was your wife stopping in every city, or were people bringing you food from the cities you were in?
Yeah, that was the game plan initially was, hey, we're going to have plenty of time, downtime. Sunny's going to go shop. We're going to go to Whole Foods. She's going to load up. We're going to stop at the Airbnb house every day. She's going to prepare a meal. Day 2, that's gone. And the volunteers that we were working with realized that we had this intense need. And Sunny only ended up shopping a few times. The nation really stepped up to the plate, and we would show up to a state and they would have a spread for us, and then they would have food for us to go. And so it was amazing for us to see just the community rally behind what we were doing and all get behind us. The state ambassadors and the volunteers that we were working with, they would call ahead 4 or 5 states saying, this is what worked for us. This is what his needs are. Have this ready. And so as we progressed, and that's why, as by the time we got to 30, we were a fairly well-oiled machine. My crew was working well. The ambassadors were giving good advice ahead of time. And so we just started to really click. And I was consuming, 10 to 12,000 calories a day. And just trying to consume food. And like I said, that hierarchy of needs was sleep over food. And so they had to sit down, and someone had to be there watching me eat the food to make sure that I was consuming.
And your buddies, I know you called them the wingmen. They would kind of have to choose which one of them was going to wake you up every morning. And I know they said a lot of times as it went, it got longer and longer, didn't it? The time it took for you to get up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would find every excuse to not be moving, and part of it was conscious and part of it wasn't. They would wake me up and I would just 5 seconds later be back asleep. And so they knew that they had to start waking me up earlier and earlier and earlier just because that process was taking so long to accomplish. And I think it was the loser of the coin toss that ultimately got to come wake me up.
And when you mentioned these volunteers or the state representatives or whoever, how did they know? How did you guys reach out to these people to let them know you were coming and this is how the whole setup was? That part of that 2 years of planning?
Yeah, it was part of that 2 years. And for me initially, it was just, I didn't have this massive following going into it, and so for me it was just a social media blast. Hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Is there anybody in the state or anybody in your tribe club that wants to help and be a part of this? And we took whoever would respond. And as the deeper we got, the more people were like, hey, what can we do? How can we help? But my initial push before we started the 50, it was literally just, I have got 1, maybe 2 people in each state.
Jeez. And it's not like you were unknown. I mean, you'd already set the world record for doing 30 Ironmans in 1 year. What year did you do that?
I did that in 2012.
Okay, and then this was 2015.
This was 2015. So it took me, I came up with the idea right at the end of 2012, and then it took me the rest of the time to put it all together, both logistically and physically.
Okay, and the thing that people probably don't, or people probably assume that you have all these people, you're getting paid tons of money to do this, and that seems like it was the furthest thing from the truth, because you did this to raise money for the Jamie Oliver Foundation?
Yeah, the Jamie Oliver Foundation. We, it's unbelievable that the first thing people say is when they hear my accomplishment, and they're like, "Oh, dude's rich and single," and I'm like, there's no way. We're happy and we can make ends meet, but we're not rich. No, there's no. I don't have any huge contracts. This isn't the major leagues, man. and then every dime that comes in, I don't even see the money. It goes directly from the website off to the charity. I don't skim nothing off the top or anything like that. And so yeah, it's just it's mine and my wife's desire to give back, empower people, try to raise money for charity, and make an impact where we can. My profession is I'm a triathlon coach, and so I make some money there that covers my bills. But man, there's no money in endurance racing.
That's why I think it's cool. It's good that you're writing a book, and do you go out and give speeches to companies and different groups?
Yeah, absolutely. Last week I talked to Nike, and I did a presentation this morning with my wife, and then another one this afternoon for a corporation that does some software development. It's actually a direction I didn't really expect, but I'll do a presentation and I'll get booked 2 more times, and so I'm having a lot of fun on stage, and people are just like, they can't wrap their mind around what I did and how I did it. And so, I mean, even right now, if I totally tank it on stage, they're just like, that was unbelievable, because they've never heard that story before, because nobody's done it. And so it's a lot of fun. And I mean, next week my wife and I were headed to Berlin, and we're doing a whole convention with Audi. And so, we're having fun, and it's, I'm starting to make a little bit of money that way, which is a huge sigh of relief. I mean, you've got 3 kids, I've got 5. I mean, they're not cheap, and they deserve the best in the world.
That's something you very much deserve, and I think you have. If anyone has a story, you have the story to tell. So I think that's going to be huge for you, especially if you like it and you're passionate about it, man. Like, you can make some big money doing that, and I think that could be a great path for you. I know I would love to sit there and listen to your presentation of this, because you could just show it. You could probably just show a PowerPoint and not really say anything, and do a quick Q&A afterwards, and people would just lose their mind. Like, they would still be blown away.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, I give my presentation, whether it's to a high school, a university, or the highest level executives, and they are just capped. I mean, their eyes are this big, because I walk them through what an Ironman is, and then I drop the bomb I did the 30, and then I go through the 50 and the thought process and everything, and they're just like, no, man, something's wrong with you. And so then I've got them, and they're just like, I need to know how you did this, and then I got to know what's up here that allowed you to keep going and accomplish that type of activity. And so it's a lot of fun for me to get up on stage, just because it's not something they've heard before, and it's fun to watch people kind of mentally try to process what it was. And so we're having a good time with it, and we've got some things up our sleeve that we're going to try to do physically coming up at the end of this year. My sponsors put a little bit of pressure on me. They were like, nah, you ain't
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? They're like, we know what you're capable of, let's go. And I'm like, God. Oh man, this is gonna hurt.
You talk about not being able to top your last thing. Oh my God, man, that's got to be absolutely overwhelming. I can't wait.
I know, when they threw it on the table, I was like, oh man, this is.
See, I think you should so sponsorship wise, like, did you pick up any sponsors after you completed the 50-50-50?
Yeah, I'm very, very loyal, and so a lot of companies did what they could, not really. They took a risk on me, because they were like, well, maybe you can. I mean, I had sponsors straight up that put their logo on me, that flat out said, I don't think you can do it, but it'll be cool to see how far you go. Oh, and then I had the CEO of the company that said, I need to apologize. I didn't think you could do it, and you nailed it. My new mantra is now the Iron Cowboy. And so to watch a CEO of a major company have that transformation and show me that respect was a lot of fun. And so I've signed a few contracts with some of the companies that supported me during the 50, because they basically said, you deserve this, and we're willing to help you out a little bit. And so it's enough that it was a super kind gesture, and absolutely we appreciate all the help and support that we get. I mean, every little bit helps.
Yeah, it should be. People should be lining up, obviously, especially if I know whatever you're going to do in the future to try to top this. I know, but why do you think why was there not more mainstream coverage of this whole feat that you did?
Fear
from the mainstream media, you mean?
Yeah, they didn't want, and then this is just my opinion. My opinion is that they were scared of it. They didn't understand it. It was too big, and I was going to fail. So they don't want to run something where I was going to fail because it was a sporting feat. And so they want Sports Center and all of these ones, they want huge success stories and all of these heartwarming things. And they were like, no, this cat can't do it. And then it's amazing to watch it unfold, because even now that I've done it, they're like, I don't know that he did it. I don't know. And I'm like, dude, I have all the GPS data. What more do you like? I had thousands of people with me every single day. I don't know what you want. So, again, it's just, I've had to shift my mentality, and it's not about the major coverage, and it's not about this and that. To me, it was a personal journey on one level. It was a journey with my family, and we're still making an impact with the charitable realm of things. And so, I'm more than satisfied with what's happening. I now have a curious, captive audience. It's a small one, but it's a curious, captive audience. And we've got some really cool things that are coming up in the future. And so that finish line wasn't a finish line for me. That was more of a milestone and kind of symbolic of what's more of a start line for me and what's coming and what our opportunity is. And if I don't do another physical feat ever again, I'm okay with that. The reality is I've played my man card, and I don't need to shuffle it back in the deck, but I now have an opportunity with my wife to go out and share the message of what we did and empower people to do something. I don't like the word inspire. Inspire to me is a fleeting moment or thought, where empower to me is an action word. If I've empowered you, I've inspired you, and now you're going to take action on it. And so that's what I want to do. I want people to take action, face their fears, because there's a better you on the other side of fear. And that's what I want everybody to experience, because I had an opportunity to face those fears and look that demon in the face, and then I kicked his ass. And the guy that came out on the other side is a cooler dude and a more confident guy, and a guy that can go out and I feel like I can take on the world.
And I think one of the best things, too, is your kids saw it. Your kids were there to witness every second of it. And they not only – I mean, every kid thinks their dad is Superman. I mean, now your kids know their dad is Superman. Yeah. They watched it.
And that's a cool feeling.
It's got to be. I can't imagine, man. Yeah, that's being a dad. I would love to I would love to talk to you. I know your daughter, she was following you on Instagram throughout your run. She got a lot of press, like taking pictures of you. What was her hashtag?
Hashtag Lucy Posts.
Yeah, and so she was documenting your trip along the way.
Yeah, she did a lot of my Periscope. She did a lot of my Instagram. People were asking for her opinion. She did an article in Runner's World. She got contacted by TED Talk to go to a women's conference, and so in March she's going to do a little 12-minute TED Talk. It's really cool what's happening.
Man, that's awesome.
I mean, could you imagine yourself being a 12-year-old and having the opportunity to go get that type of exposure?
No, I mean, not at all. I couldn't. She jumped on that Rich Roll podcast, and I'm like, wait, how old is she? Like, how professional she sounded and how well she handled herself.
Yeah.
Just doing it, I was like, oh, okay, this girl's way beyond her time.
She's such a cool kid, and I think it's her mom's fault.
She's just trying to keep up with her dad, man. I can imagine. It's got to be tough. You said going back, like people want to get inside your head, or when you're giving these talks, figure out like what it was that, what is it that makes you do this? What makes you tick? I'm sure you've heard that question. Like, what was your life like growing up? Like, were you only child? What were your parents like? How supportive was everyone around you?
I think I grew up in kind of the perfect storm. My dad is blue collar. He's a firefighter. He's super conservative. You work for 40 years, you retire, you get on a pension, you take no risks. And then my mom is just like in the clouds and do what you want and follow your dreams. And I picked up more on that side of things and gravitated to that. I've got 3 sisters, no brothers. None of them are athletic. I mean, I don't even think my dad could throw a baseball. But I started wrestling in 7th grade, and I wrestled for 10 years. And I think that's where I got some of my mental toughness or my grit. It's a tough sport, and it's you and the other dude on the mat, and you got to hold your own or you get worked. And then I just made my way through that, and I did really well. Being from Canada, you either played hockey or you wrestled, and couldn't skate, so I wrestled. And then, I just did the half Ironman world record and the full Ironman, and then thought, there's more for me, and I think I can take this on. And so, I had just a normal upbringing in Canada, but yeah, just started to gravitate towards the single sport, tough natures type of stuff.
Yeah, wrestlers are some of the toughest dudes on the planet. I've talked about that before, man. I played basketball during wrestling season. I would just see those guys coming out of practice and just they all looked like death just from practice alone, and that was when they weren't cutting weight.
Yeah.
I think that has to instill something. But obviously you were born with something that you had in there, and then you've scratched that itch over time, obviously, and trying to find out, like, where your limits are. Like, after doing this, do you feel like you have, like, or is the sky the limit for real? Like, is there anything that in your mind you think you can't accomplish? Physical wise, like a physical feat?
Well, like, I'm 40 this year. I'm 5'8". I'm a white Canadian. I mean, physically, I'm never going to play NBA. I'm never going to play in the NFL. But I mean, it's something that's within inside my realm. I don't think there is a limit. I think if you prepare long enough for something and you have enough heart and desire, I don't think I've reached my physical potential. The only way to truly find that out, I mean, I could have woken up on day 51 and done another one. The only way to truly find your limit is, okay, let's block off infinity, and you have to do an Ironman every single day until you don't show up. And so metaphorically, did I find my mental and physical limits? Yes. Am I satisfied with where I took myself and faced some demons and had to make a choice whether to keep going or not? Yes. Was it impossible for me to get up the next day and continue? No.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder, man. I wonder where that is, where that limit may be. I'm sure, yeah, you're doing more physical stuff. Like, how do you feel? How do your knees feel? That's my one question for you. I've had a bunch of knee scopes and different things. I just can't imagine how my knees would feel after running all that way.
Yeah, no, I'm good. It's strange. The thing that took the longest to recover was I had numbness in my fingers and toes. Because at a certain point in the campaign, my body had to make a decision. Look, am I going to send blood and oxygen to his heart and his brain and keep him alive, or am I going to send it to his extremities? And my body was like, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice his fingers and toes to keep him alive. And so that numbness took a long time to come back, probably 4 or 5 months after I finished. But I'm back into a full training block. I'm doing 2 to 3 hours a day right now, getting myself back into shape to where we can start to start our next training block. My goal is to be back in good enough of a shape to start a 6-month push of really intense focused training to be able to do our next feat probably October, November of this year.
Okay. Is that next feat like an Ironman realm in that, I'm sure it's ultra marathon / hang gliding / rock climbing / swimming the English Channel?
All I can say is it's big and it's global.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I was trying to figure out what I was trying to guess, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to guess.
I'll be announcing it within the next 30 days.
Oh, awesome. Cool. That's good. I can wait 30 days. I thought it was going to be a couple months at least. I'm good. I can wait that long. Man, that's cool. I think this time at least. Do you think this now, whenever you announce this next one, do you think you'll have a lot more, media hype leading into it? Which I think the good thing, the reason I want to see more hype leading when it comes to this next one is because I think it'll help you raise so much more money if people were aware of these things you're doing.
Yeah, I think the difference now is they believe me now. Where before, every time I'd up the ante, it was such a big up that they were like, no, you can't do that either. And then I'd do it, and they'd be like, no, it's too big. You still can't do that. This one was big enough that it doesn't matter what I announced. They'd be like, yeah, dude, that's the Iron Cowboy. Dude can do it. And so it's good to see that opinion, that popular vote out there saying, yeah, I think he can now. I believe what he says he's doing it now. So I think once we announce what we're doing and who's involved and whatnot, I think the perception and the lead up to it will be different. And I hope it is, because that's our goal, is to raise more money for charity and impact those kids and stuff.
I don't know what the book, I'm blanking on the name right now, but have you read the book about the guys that, I don't know, the dudes back in the day that would run barefoot through the woods for like over 100 miles?
Yeah, Born to Run.
Yeah. What do you think of those guys? And what do you think of the whole no shoe running movement too?
I think shoes are fantastic. They protect your bottom of your feet. I mean, those guys their bodies adapt, and they've been doing it for such a long time. We were born into a society that has shoes, and so I mean, they didn't have the elements that we have of cement and concrete and glass and all of these things that are a tremendous hazard and illnesses and all of these things. I definitely believe in a minimalist type of running shoe. The shoe that I use it's called Zero Drop. It's an ultra shoe, and so the toe to heel is exactly the same. It's flat, so there's no rise on the back. So it puts you into a flat foot position, which is your more natural position. I think all of the shoes with all of the support and all of these just inhibit you from strengthening all of the stabilizers and everything, which is where the barefoot movement came from. I mean, I've got a pair on my foot right now, but you can see the heel to toe is the same entire way. It's the same thickness here as it is here.
So those are like the shoes you'll wear when you're running Ironman?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. This would be more of a half Ironman race shoe.
What brand is that?
It's called Ultra, ALTRA.
And strictly for ultra marathoners and everything, guys like you.
Their specialty is running. They're a running shoe. Yeah.
So is the old school ASIC running shoes with like the 2 inches of thick padding on the bottom, are those out?
The amount of thickness of the padding is okay, as long as it matches it front and back. So I've got a shoe that does have a high platform, but my contact to the ground is still flat. It doesn't put me like this, which causes a lot of stress on the calf and the Achilles. It doesn't allow you for all your stabilizers in your foot. And so I, depending on the distance that I'm going, will depend on how much cushion I have, but that zero drop is consistent among all the shoes that I run in.
Okay, that makes sense, man. Maybe that's my problem. I'm terrible. I can't even break a 7-minute mile if I run 1 mile, basically. Distance running has never been my thing. Maybe just if I got those zero drops, I'd be all right, wouldn't I?
Well, let me know your foot size. I'll get you a pair.
All right.
I don't know. Do they make a size 17?
No, bro, I got small feet. I have 11 and a half or so.
Oh, dude, I got a pair right now. I'll drop
Do you really? I might have to trade you something for them. I'd like to. Okay, so I can't. I shouldn't say I can't. I never want to say I can't, but I'm not passionate about running distance right now in my life. I like to swim. I really do. I swim for workouts and everything. It's easier on your knees and ankles and everything that
you're a bigger dude. How tall are you?
Yeah, I'm like 6'1", big 240.
Yeah, 240. That's a lot of weight on running. Man, and that's why I'm only 5'8", 160 pounds when I'm in race shape, but that's a huge difference, your impact on the ground. I mean, I love cycling. It's just so low impact on your body. You can cover so much more distance. You can get up in the mountains. That's just a huge escape for me.
Is when you're cycling, is that I can imagine that time. It's almost like moving meditation, isn't it?
You just nailed it on the head. One of my concepts that I like to teach is that you have to unplug. And whether that's meditating or prayer or whatever it is, escaping and just being by yourself. For me, it's when I'm on my bike. I don't have any technology with me. I don't have anything. I'm up in the mountains, and it's just like I have come up with either my worst ideas that are the craziest, and arguably my best ideas. I mean, I just get inspiration when I'm up there and just riding and stuff. So you've heard of the runner's high and all that other stuff. I get it on my bike, and it's just a massive escape for me and a space that I love. And man, I'm telling you, my best ideas happen when I'm on my bike.
I could see that. I think it is. Everyone has their own thing where you can kind of get that feeling. I've almost felt like that when I've recently, like over the last couple of years, gotten into more like swim workouts. And I'm not doing open water swim. This is all like in the pool. But if I build up my endurance a little bit in the pool and I'm doing a bunch of laps at a time, that's when I think I start getting some ideas and you start feeling great. Like it's almost like a spiritual movement because especially when you're underwater, so you can't hear anything. If you know you're the only guy in the pool too, and you just you're just in the zone, and all of a sudden, bam, you hit 40, 50 laps or something, which I'm not going fast, but I think moving for people, it makes it a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do that than for me to sit in a chair and close my eyes and have a mantra.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, emotion creates emotion, and you are getting your inspiration when you're moving, and it makes total sense to me. And I totally get what you're saying about being in the water. And you, again, the same scenario as me on my bike. You've removed your technology and things like that, and the water kind of is like this space where that's all you're focused on, and you can hear the bubbles, and you're swimming. And it's kind of like it's just you and nature, and it's a really cool space to be. So I'm glad you've had that experience.
Yeah, I hit a point to where it's really, really hard, and then I kind of like your body snaps into it, and you hit kind of cruise, and you're like, I could have gone forever, man. So that was I just recently had that swimming like this past year. I loved it. Felt great.
I would have never pegged you as a guy that jumps in the water.
See, I grew up on swim team. Got a bunch of blue ribbons. See, the blue ribbons were first place. So when I was a youngster, I was on Black Oak swim team. For anyone listening that was on Black Oak with me, we man, I loved it. Those meets, like it was tough, man. You'd have to for swimming. You have to practice when the pool's not open. So we'd swim at like 6:30 in the morning, and the whole team's out there, and the water's freezing. You got to jump in and just swim for a couple hours before the pool opens, and then you go do basketball camp and baseball games the rest of the day, and then you have swim meets at night. And I loved it, man. I did back and fly, and the only reason I realized I was winning is because no other kids wanted to do butterfly because it was too hard.
I was gonna say, man, fly is so hard. Yeah, not many guys are jumping in the water going, "Hey, yeah, pick me. I'll do fly."
Maybe that's probably why I was winning blue ribbons, because I was the only other kid. They're probably, if anyone was doing it, they didn't want to, and their parents made them. They just had to fill the lanes up with scrubs. But I can't, trust me, fly. I'm barely getting a half a lap right now when I'm doing fly. It's not nearly as easy when you're 240 and had head, shoulder, and elbow in situations that don't feel great when you're in there. But
I believe it.
It's cool though. I like it. When you're running or biking though, I've seen you got nice little Jaybird headphones on. What do you usually listen to?
Yeah, either I'm going to offend some people or I'll be honest. My favorite album right now is the new Bieber album.
That's great. I heard it. See, I've only heard a few of them, but I heard it's legit.
Dude, it's totally legit. The kid's got talent. I love listening to him. This album that came out, it's just so chill, and it's got a lot of cool beats to it. And then I like your 50 Cent, your Eminem, your Jay-Z, just that cool, 2000 to 2010 to 15, just that era. It's getting a little out of control right now, but I just love when Dr. Dre and all them were on the scene and hitting it hard. It's just a really cool vibe for me, and that's kind of my playlist right there.
So when you're running on these Ironmans, are you holding your phone and just Bluetooth in those headphones?
No, I've got a little belt that I put around my waist and throw my phone in it.
So are you holding your water bottle? I've seen you holding something in your hand a lot of times.
In a lot of those videos, in the 50, I did hold my phone a lot because I was either doing social media or texting people or talking with my crew, and then just I could have had the phone anywhere, Bluetooth, but I use a Nathan run belt that holds my water and my phone in it, and then I can run with no hands. But I did have my phone in my hand a lot on the 50 just because I was constantly either checking up on the next day or making sure Sonny and the kids were okay, or letting the crew know where I was, or punching in my GPS data, or doing a social media update, or I was just trying to do things to occupy my mind while I was out there.
I gotcha. And are you usually always listening to music if you're on the bike or running?
During the 50, I didn't have an opportunity to listen to it a lot, only because there was always somebody with me. And it was always strangers that wanted to ask questions or talk. And I needed that, because if I wasn't talking to somebody, I was going to sleep. But yeah, I do, leading up to the 50, I was doing, 7, 8, 9, 10-hour rides. And so I was listening to podcasts and music and a lot of just everything that I could. And then sometimes it was great just to be in silence. So I ran the whole gamut: music, podcasts, and silence.
Now, as you build up over the 50, was it like when Forrest Gump took off and towards the end of his run, we just had people trailing him?
Yeah, on the last day we had over 3,500 people here,
Were a lot of them running with you for the last 5K or whatever?
Yeah, we the last 5K, it was a mile loop, and while we were doing it, it became one full chain of along that whole mile. It was just, there wasn't an empty space. It was just a moving train of people, and what an unbelievable feeling to have that support and that many people that took time out of their own day to come be part of what I was doing. I mean, it was super humbling, and I'm loaded with gratitude.
Yeah, man, your whole message is awesome. I know you're a big proponent of family, like that's what you lead with. And it's funny you said that people think, oh, he's single and he's rich and single when they hear your story.
Yeah,
I didn't think that when I first heard about you. I didn't think you were.
You just thought I was nuts.
Well, I know you're nuts. I don't think that, but that's good, man. All the great ones are nuts for sure. But I didn't think rich and single, but I definitely never would have pictured riding in the RV with your 5 kids rolling around, 5 young kids, by the way.
Yeah.
And, doing the whole thing like that. Because when I was watching your videos, I'm like, oh, my God, man, they came with them the whole time. It wasn't like they popped in and out for a couple runs here or there.
Yeah, they were a mainstay. I wasn't even going to fathom doing it without them.
That's great. They seem like they're kind of like your fuel, aren't they, for all of these things?
Everybody's got to have a why. I got 5 of them.
Are you guys done? Or you keep going?
Oh no, we're done with kids.
Oh yeah.
Well, we've hit that magic spot where my oldest girls are old enough to watch everybody. Everybody's out of diapers. They're all in school, and so we've kind of got this little magic spot where it's kind of freedom for my wife and I. We've got a lot of helpers. We can go on a date. We can run to the store. It's a good place to do. I think kids are a blast, and I'm really looking forward to the teenage years that everybody's so scared of. I'm ready to take it on full steam.
Yeah, you got 4 girls, right? You said?
Yeah, my oldest 4 are girls.
And your oldest is what, 13, 14 now?
So I got 13, 12, 10, 8, 7.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, guys always say that. So I have now my daughter's 5, and then my son's 3 here in a second, and then my son's 2 weeks right now, my youngest. And
oh wow, congrats!
Thanks, man. And having a girl oldest is amazing. She's 5, and she already wants to be like a little mom. I can't imagine what your daughter at 13 is doing. I mean,
my 12 and 13-year-old girls are unbelievable. They're literally light years beyond what their classmates are, and they're so mature and helpful and loving. And having the younger siblings, I mean, they step up to the plate so much. And we truly are. We're a really tight family. We love spending time with each other, and it's fun now that they're turning into little people. I mean, my older girls, they'll sit in on conversations and they'll write something for school, and I'm like, "Did you wrote that all by yourself?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's in your head?" It's really weird because you have them since they're babies, and then they start getting these personalities and opinions and all of these things, and it's just a lot. It's a lot of fun, man. I can't wait when they're even older. I'm enjoying the time now, but even when they're older and start dating and all of these things and having babies, I'm excited for all of it.
That's a good attitude to have. Most guys are scared to death of their daughter be hitting teenage years. And
no, man, I got 4 more. I got 4 sons coming.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I like that, man. When I talk to guys if you talk to guys that don't really spend a lot of time around their kids, or they don't, they're like, oh wait, it's terrible. Your daughter will leave you from age 15 they'll come back when they're 21, and they say, and I'm like, all right, man, I don't believe you. First off, like I'm
going to be their best friend.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you talk to a guy like you or someone like truly cares about their kids and family, they're like, no, I have a couple buddies, older guys that their daughters are in their 20s now, and they're like, no, my daughter, I had a great relationship all through high school with my daughters, and they were just open and honest, and kind of the daughters knew they were there for them.
It's all about communication.
Yeah, man.
And knowing what the personality type is and learning how to talk to that personality type.
Yeah. Are you and your wife similar personalities?
Total opposites.
Yeah.
Dude, she is so fun. I'm a stick in the mud. She's the center of attention at a party. She's I'm the fly by my seat of the pants. She's responsible. It's awesome. We complement each other really well.
That's why you work. Do you guys agree on like TV shows and things that you like to watch together and stuff like that?
She hates movies. I like them, so I watch a lot of movies by myself on my iPad.
I'm with you. That's exactly me. Like, I think the less things that you come together on, and you like on the outside things like movies, TV shows, whatever, I think the less, like, the better your relationship is, because you can even each other out. Like, my wife and I absolutely don't agree on most every movie. She only wants to watch comedies because she's like, oh, I want something that's fun. I don't want to have to sit here and be serious or whatever. I'm like, well, this movie's not going to affect my life. I want to watch, like, the new Leo DiCaprio movie come out, The Revenant. I want to see that.
Dude, I heard it's awesome.
I know. Doesn't it look amazing?
I loved Creed. I'll watch anything with The Rock in it.
The Rock, you should reach out to him. Have you heard anything from him?
No.
Well, I think
Dude, he's on another universe.
Yeah, he is, but he's like he's a dude that loves I know you don't like the word inspire. He
loves the underdog.
Yeah, and he likes to empower people, and he's always posting, like, his workouts and what he's doing. And he seems to be like a super positive dude. So I would guess, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and guess that you guys are going to cross paths eventually. You know, I'm sure within the next couple of years. He seems like you're right up his alley. So I think
that'd be cool. Maybe I'll challenge him to one of my events.
Do it. I think you should. He's a little bit bigger than us.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here. 5 kids, crazy workout schedule you have at all times, and being a great father and husband, which is number one, I think. So it's admirable what you do, man. I really appreciate you coming on here, and looking forward to your next announcement, like you said, coming on in the next 30 days, the global summit that you're going to take on that we're all going to hear about soon. So
absolutely, man. Thanks, AJ. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, man. It's the Iron Cowboy. Appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you.
Peace.
We're glad you could join us for today's conversation. After you subscribe to the show, head over to thehawkcast.com or reach out to AJ directly on Twitter at @officialAJHawk to recommend future guests that will help us inspire people to keep talking. Thanks again, and we look forward to speaking with you next time on the HawkCast.